Alright, in tonight's episode of iSCSI in 20 minutes or less, let's cover getting into iSCSI. First off, get your domain controller up and running. Hover over your network connection, make sure it says Contoso. Ditto for any other systems that you're going to be using, for any labs. Okay. So here I've just got the domain controller up and running, server 01 and storage 01. First thing I got to do is I got to create the iSCSI disks. I'll go into that under File and Storage, iSCSI, and I've got the default quorum and shared disk. I'm going to add in new disks here. New iSCSI virtual disk. Okay, so the server is going to be storage. I'm going to select by volume. I'm going to put it in C. Next. I'm going to call this vDisk01. Going to make it 5 gigs. Dynamically expanding. Next. I'm going to create a new iSCSI target. Next. And I'm going to call this iSCSI disks. Now, here's another trick. Click Add to specify the iSCSI initiators. So, what servers are we expecting to connect to this? We'll go Add. And we're going to go Browse. Server 01. And we're going to go by DNS name. And since we're in the neighborhood, let's add server 02. Okay, so I got server 01, server 02. I'm not going to bother with authentication. And here. We'll go create. And no errors. All is good. So let's add another disk. Storage 01, volume C. Next. Call vDisk02. 5 gigs, dynamically expanding. Next. I'm going to put it into the iSCSI disks group. Create. And done. Let's add another disk. Now I'm going to make this for the RAID 5, so I'm going to keep it at fixed size. Add it to this group. Next. Create. Once again, add it to iSCSI disks. Done. And last one. Okay, so here are all my iSCSI virtual disks on storage 01. Let's go over to server 01 now, and we'll add these disks. Fire up the initiator. Okay, so we'll go discover portal. Alright, that's all good. I like to use the fully qualified DNS name. And let's see. Aha! We have found targets. Here's the iSCSI disks. We'll go connect. We are now connected. Go into disk management. And we should see a whack of disks. And there we go. So for the first one, we wanted to do that mirrored. Bring the disks online. Initialize disk 1 and disk 2. And we'll go new mirrored volume. Follow bouncing ball. Add the second disk. Next. And since this is mirrored, we'll call it the M drive. It's thinking, it's doing stuff. And now it's formatting. Voila. Now let's do our RAID 5. Bring the disks online. Initialize. And we're going to do new RAID 5. Now, unless you have 3 disks available, you're not going to be able to do RAID 5 because RAID 5 is a minimum of 3 volumes that you need. This disk, and we'll add this disk. Next. And since this is a RAID, we'll call it drive R. And perform a quick format. Now you'll know something a little bit different when it starts formatting these. It's not going to say formatting. It's going to say resyncing. So what it's doing here is it's actually formatting and also creating the parity information. The other reason that I wound up creating these particular disks as fixed disks is if you use dynamically expanding and you write data to, say, disk 3, and that one expands, it'll put disks 4 and 5 out of sync, and it'll constantly be resyncing. Okay, While that's going on, let's create some shares. So we have our mirrored volume. We'll go in here. Right click, go sharing, advanced sharing, shared folder, permissions. Remember, at the share level, give everybody full control. You're going to wind up controlling actual security with NTFS. So here we're going into the NTFS and security. Administrators have everything. And users just have read, list, and read and execute. That's all we want for this. Okay, so our RAID 5 is now healthy. Let's go back. Create a share. Let's rename that. Once again, permissions, and security, administrators, everything, and same permissions for just regular users. Alright, so let's test the shares on the domain controller. And there we go. We got our mirror. We got some stuff. Create a text document. RAID 5, we got more stuff. Let's create another text document. And as far as we're concerned in the lab, this is all we actually need to do. Now in reality, you'd never wind up doing this in a production environment. Putting all your virtual disks and your iSCSI connections onto a server such as that, it's just not going to work very well. If there is some kind of failure on the actual server, you're going to wind up losing all your data, and you're going to have to recover from backup if you're lucky. So let's just simulate what would actually happen in the real world back on server 01. So I'm going to go back to my iSCSI initiator here. And since this is my network, and I've got a NAS box with iSCSI initiated, let's put this on the external switch. Okay. Here's where you have to be a little bit trickier. So we're going to use the Microsoft iSCSI initiator, and we're going to select the NIC that we're actually going to use. In this case, it's going to be 192.168.155 to be on the other network. And if this takes, there we go. So I'm connected to my NAS. I'll connect to that. And at some point in the near future, it'll connect. There we go. We are now connected. Back to disk management. And voila. This is on my NAS. I'll bring this online. Initialize the disk. Do simple volume. I'm going to make it 10 gigs. And we'll make it simple. And I'm just going to give it that drive letter. And there we go. We've already formatted the disk. We can ignore that. And there we go. Just created a folder on my iSCSI disk. That's on my NAS. That's it for iSCSI.